This weekend we have the last of our lay witness talks regarding the Love One Another capital campaign, and today our speaker is Jean Weaver.
Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my name's Jean Weaver, and I've been teaching high school science at Prairie for 25 years. And over this time period, I got to know Mrs. Johnson pretty well. Which Mrs. Johnson, you might ask? Well, that's Mrs. Imogene Johnson, the wife of Sam Johnson of S.C. Johnson Wax. She and her friend Willie Hilpert founded Prairie over 50 years ago, and the entire Johnson family have been tremendous benefactors of Prairie since then. So I really like Mrs. Johnson, and I've always thought that if I was ever a billionaire, I'd want to be just like her. But I don't envy her for all the stuff that she had. No, I envied her because she used her money to make huge impacts on two of my most favorite things, science and education. So besides founding Prairie, she also provided much of the money to make Cornell's Lab of Ornithology the world leader in bird research, education, and conservation. And I even had the privilege of visiting the Lab of Ornithology as one of Mrs. Johnson's guests several years ago. And wow, that is really a spectacular place. So why am I talking about Mrs. Johnson and ornithology here at St. Rita this morning? Well, the reality is I'm not going to be a billionaire anytime soon, and I'm guessing that's the case with most of us here today. So I've moved on from wishing I was as wealthy as Mrs. Johnson was, and I've realized that there are lots of us that are not billionaires. And so when lots of us people give what they can here and there, they can have the same impact as one Mrs. Johnson. And so while I alone can't have the impact that Mrs. Johnson had on Cornell and on Prairie, I do have my own little impact on my own college alma maters, on Prairie, and on Siena schools. I also help Caledonia Conservancy and the Chewauquee Prairie. And my husband and I have a little impact on St. Rita and the Archdiocese. But we still have 2 kids to get through college, and we simply can't contribute enough money to get St. Rita to her Love One Another goal. So the parish is counting on all of us to chip in as we can, and together we'll reach that goal of $609,000. So one last thing, if you think about it, we're all here in this church on this really large property today because of the treasure that normal people with normal incomes just like ours have been contributing to this parish little by little over the last 100 years. Well, now it's our turn to dig a little bit deeper into our wallets and to do our little part to ensure the financial stability of St. Rita and the Archdiocese for the next leg of the journey. So if you haven't yet made a pledge to the Love One Another campaign, please prayerfully consider joining us little people so that together we can make a big impact.